Hey there everyone, I'm meteorologist Cassie Nall and this is your 10 weather impact recap for the week. Let's start with a look at the top stories from around the country. In case you missed it, East Tennessee experienced an earthquake on Saturday. These are some of the videos sent in by viewers from over the weekend. The 4.1 magnitude tremor near Tallahassee was tied for the 5th strongest earthquake on record in East Tennessee. But this area is no stranger to seismic activity. We live in the East Tennessee seismic zone and can experience hundreds of earthquakes each year. The majority of them, though, are just too small for us to feel. This is the shake map from Saturday's quake, which shows where people reported feeling shaking. Folks from Nashville to Charlotte and southern Kentucky all the way south of Atlanta were able to feel the earth moving. So why was such a relatively weak earthquake able to be felt over such a large area? Well, it has to do with our rocks. In the east, our rocks are older and more dense than rocks out west, so seismic energy can travel more efficiently. This means that an earthquake that likely wouldn't even be noticed in California can be felt over a much larger distance and more intensely here in Tennessee. And because earthquakes are actually pretty common in the volunteer state, the Tennessee Task Force trains regularly so they can be prepared. Griffin Damaris attended one of those training sessions and shares how emergency managers would respond if a big quake ever impacted the region.
It's sort of like a football practice, except for an earthquake.
Whether it's saving someone from a falling car or doing rescues in a collapsed parking garage, the Tennessee Task Force did a little bit of everything Tuesday during their disaster response exercise. And teams from across the state came to practice together just in case something were to happen.
We already have an urban search and rescue team here in Memphis. If we actually have the New Madrid hit, our personnel that make up our team are going to be already involved in rescue operations with their own departments. So we're going to need outside help to come in and help.
That is why teams from both Nashville and East Tennessee were in town working together. This is the first time a training session of this size has taken place in Memphis since 2007. Nathan Morin is a research scientist at the Center for Earthquake Research and Information at the U of M and said, like anything else, you have to practice.
Well, if you do not drill and do not practice for stuff, when it happens, if you've not practiced, you waste time in chaotic trying to wing it, so to speak.
In Memphis, Griffin Demaray, Action News 5.
Evacuations are taking place as the Brimson Complex fire destroys cabins in northeast Minnesota. The fire, which started north of the town of Brimson near the Superior National Forest, has already blackened more than 19,000 acres and is still growing. As of Wednesday, the St. Louis County Sheriff reported at least 140 structures have been destroyed. A group of campers is currently being investigated and may face charges after they reportedly started the fire Sunday and left it unattended. The fires in Minnesota are being fueled in part by dry conditions, gusty winds, and record heat. International Falls, known as the icebox of the nation, reached 96 degrees on Sunday, the hottest temperature ever recorded in the month of May. Grand Forks and Minot, North Dakota both topped out at 99 degrees on Mother's Day. But the summer-like temperatures aren't only impacting the northern plains and the upper Midwest. Parts of Texas are now baking in triple-digit heat this week as a large ridge of high pressure sets up over the middle of the country. In Florida, the amount of seaweed or sargassum is increasing along the Atlantic coast. Officials spend millions of dollars each year on cleanup, and crews are once again trying to remove the seaweed from the beaches. But this year, there's more of the irritating stuff to gather. Ari Odzer reports on the influx of sargassum and what that may mean for beachgoers.
The beach cleanup crews are busy up and down the coastline of South Florida. Look at this massive pile of seaweed here you see behind me. It's been raked off the sands and piled up over here. This happens every year, of course, but the scientists who study sargassum say it's getting worse.
I've looked at it now, and it's more than we had it last year at this time, that's for sure. And that's a bad sign.
Depending on what beach, depending on the day, you could find a sargassum mess on the sand and in the water.
It's unsightly, and people don't like it, and it's got to be cleaned up, and it costs a lot of money to clean it up every day.
FIU professor Stephen Leatherman, known as Dr. Beach, says everything from climate change to Saharan dust clouds to deforestation in the Amazon is feeding blooms of sargassum weed in the Atlantic, which then ends up on our beaches. When you see that kind of seaweed on the beach, what do you think?
I really don't enjoy swimming in it. I often see critters just hanging around in it, and I don't like to be near it.
Today's a good beach day, not much seaweed here at Hallover, but when you see a lot of it, what do you think?
It's the worst, actually. It kind of ruins the beach day because it starts itching when you go in the water. It's not a good experience.
It can do more than make you itchy. Dr. Mary Beth Gidley of UM's Cooperative Institute for Marine and Atmospheric Studies says sargassum is not necessarily a hazard, but people should keep their distance.
Sargassum can carry some bacteria attached to it. And while most of these bacteria can be harmless, there is always the possibility that there might be one of the pathogenic bacteria that they can be exposed to.
So you like it when they clean it up, right?
Yes, 100%. And for the past couple of months, every time I come, I'm praying. I'm please don't let there be seaweed. Please don't let there be seaweed.
We are now in peak severe weather season across the U.S., but this year there are growing concerns from former leaders at the National Weather Service that lives could be at risk due to recent proposed cuts that have left fewer forecasters watching the skies and the seas. Meteorologist Chase Kane has the story.
Right at dinner time on April 17th,
we have a tornado warning issued for Pottawatomie County.
Supercell storms started producing tornadoes across eastern Nebraska.
It's really scared last night.
Our Omaha affiliate reporting homes and cars badly damaged, windows blown out, roofs ripped off, one family caught off guard.
We didn't think anything of it, and then my wife started screaming at me, so we hightailed it to the basement, and it was about 20 seconds after I got down there that it ripped through.
Luckily, everyone survived, but with only seconds to spare, is it possible they could have gotten an earlier warning? What we do know from an official bulletin is that the Omaha National Weather Service office didn't have enough staff to launch regular weather balloons that day. Only one instead of two, which meant their data was hours old and only showed the threat of hail, not tornadoes.
And that's impossible to forecast when and where. Not having that data could have saved a life or created a warning that had greater lead time. But if you do it over and over and over again, I can promise you that not having that data is going to be a problem when it comes to forecasting.
And it's all because of a political tornado. DOGE federal employee buyouts and cuts earlier this year, leading to that, quote, lack of office staffing. And now, in a rare move, every living former director of the National Weather Service, dating back to President Reagan, is warning that President Trump's proposal to cut NOAA funding by nearly 30% will lead to a, quote, needless loss of life. We reached out to the White House, and a Commerce spokesperson said, in part, NOAA does not anticipate any disruptions in services as a result of staff reorganizations, and the NWS will continue to meet its mission of ensuring public safety amid critical weather events. But a former NWS director disagrees.
We are generating kind of a Swiss cheese weather service. We have holes throughout the Weather Service now that are not well thought out.
Republican Congressman Mike Flood represents the area hit by those 6 tornadoes on April 17th with a short-staffed weather office. So he called the White House to get more meteorologists to Omaha.
For decades, the National Weather Service personnel have not been classified as public safety. They are clearly public safety, and that's something that we need to do in Congress.
The last NOAA administrator, Rick Spinrad, also tallied that so far, staff cuts have cost the Weather Service 7,000 years of collective experience.
It's like having incoming missiles and not being able to tell anyone when they're coming or where they're coming.
A NOAA spokesperson told NBC News work is underway to restore services at local forecast offices around the country.
There are things in NOAA that I'm sure could be improved, but you don't do that improvement with a hatchet and just randomly cut large chunks. Weather in this nation should not be a political issue.
Congressman Flood said he's already working on legislation to reclassify Weather Service forecasters as a matter of public safety, along with other federal workers like air traffic controllers and the FBI. He expects to have bipartisan support for that bill. 7 months after Hurricane Helene hit western North Carolina, community members are working hard to rebuild. We first met Fred Forrester 3 days after the storm devastated his neighborhood in September. He owns a home in Swannanoa, 30 minutes outside of Asheville. Sam Perez and Jillian Taylor traveled back to Asheville to follow up with Fred and other neighbors impacted by the storm.
When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. Through the floods, they will not overwhelm you.
Isaiah 43 verses 2 and 3. Scripture Fred Forrester knows in more ways than one.
That became real because I've actually been thigh deep in the flood, literally, because the water line on the house would be about a foot higher than that bottom trim.
When Hurricane Helene hit his community on September 27th, 2024.
Here's our first floor mattresses. All of that big pile has been replaced by people giving, by donations. There are people that I think donated like, okay, we'll take this room, and they bought the bed and the chest and, you know, stuff like that. A whole new bedroom.
Family, friends, and volunteers from around the country helped rebuild and furnish his home.
17 people in orange t-shirts showed up from the first week of September through at least the end of February. Samaritan's Purse orange t-shirts and hoodies have been all over this place,
leaving Forrester overwhelmed.
A lot of the ways that people have responded, that's what's overwhelmed us, not the disaster. Disasters happen, but this response leaves you so hopeful.
Finding glimmers of hope wherever they could.
Yeah, this is one of our little survival pieces. It had to have been in the water because it was only about 4 feet off the ground. But we would come over here and work, and that thing's just doing its musical job.
Keeping the faith through the flood.
Great news from Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Vehicle-free days in Cades Cove will begin on June 18th and continue every Wednesday through September 24th. Vehicle-free days provide opportunities for pedestrians and cyclists to experience the 11-mile Cades Cove Loop Road without motor vehicles. The Park Service recommends that everyone wear a helmet and plan to bring water and snacks before adventuring onto the loop. They also want to remind everyone that you don't have to come in the morning. That's usually the busiest time. And once parking is full, you will be asked to return later in the day. You'll also need a parking tag and should park only in designated parking spaces. And more good news from the park, this time for the campers. Abrams Creek, Big Creek, Cosby, and Look Rock campgrounds will open on Monday, May 19th. Balsam Mountain Campground will welcome visitors starting May 23rd. Reservations for those sites will be available on recreation.gov. And check this out. Dwayne Voister sent us this photo of the Milky Way over Chilhowie Lake in Blount County last week. From February to June, the Milky Way is visible in the early morning sky, slowly getting higher above the horizon. Summer, though, is considered the best time of year to view the galaxy since it will be higher in the sky throughout the night into early fall. And let's get a check of your 7-day forecast if you think you're going to have a chance to get out and see the Milky Way. Well, the skies are going to be pretty cloudy for the next several days as we continue to have the elevated rain chances all the way into the weekend. We're also going to stay warm and humid all the way through the weekend as well, hoping that maybe by next week we'll get a little bit more of a break from these elevated rain chances we've had so far in the month of May. Thank you so much for watching. And remember, you can always get the latest in the forecast in the 10 News app. It's free to download in the App Store.